I can never be perfect, but at least I can be better than you. And I'm going to always let you know with everything you do. You think your diet is amazing. I'm gonna tell you mine is better still. You tell me you have the most awesome recipe for pork chops, and I'll tell you, oh, I never kill. Here comes the purity spiral, round and round and round and round it goes. Don't ever say anything you're doing. I got one better, and I'll keep you on your toes. So, good evening, everybody. We have not done this in quite a while. I've been busy. And, got sick for a while. Got behind on a few things. I have not done any work on the Create Your Own Florida Food Forest book. So all the illustrators and everybody that's just waiting on me for a half a year, I haven't caught up on it. I have kind of been thrown into the middle of, hey, look at there's all this acreage here. And I think we'd better farm it. Because I got a real bad feeling about the way things are going in 2021, and I think we haven't really seen all the fallout from 2020 yet, and things are going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and I want to be ready for that. And so I've spent a lot of time out working in the yard and farming. I've got a tractor that I could borrow, so I'm going to put more land under cultivation than I would normally do for the backyard gardening thing, and I am excited about the possibilities in the gardens here, but at the same time, I'm kind of frustrated by how poor the soil is. So there's this ongoing fight to, I would love to put all this land out back into production, but in order to do that, man, I'd better have some more organic matter. It's like back when I was in Grenada, and I tore up the big part of the backyard and was kind of getting ready for the coronavirus to come. And people are like, you should mulch. You should mulch. You should mulch this year. I'm like, it's 7,000 square feet or so. It's about a 70 by 100 garden space that I was putting into cultivation. Where am I going to get mulch to cover that whole area, especially in the third world? There wasn't even like a chipper truck, and the what they say, the trying to do something in the most perfect way possible, and the ideal imaginary way that we think that it should go. You picture your ideal garden and you say, man, Paul Gauci, Back to Eden, unbelievable. That's the kind of garden I want. Paul didn't build those gardens overnight. Morag Gamble, man, she has got some crazy cool stuff. I want a garden that looks like hers. It's amazing. I want a garden that looks like Zaytuna Farms. Jeff Lawton's food forest. Well, don't forget that there's a lot of effort that goes into that over time to get to that point. You don't just throw something like that together. And your primary goal, if you're facing, a tight budget, if you're facing a pandemic, if you are hoping to grow food on your new land, your primary goal at the beginning is to just get food out of the ground. And there's a lot of people who say, I would garden, I just haven't built the beds yet, or I haven't gathered all of my mulch yet, or I haven't managed to find a source for fill in the blank, or, you know, if I did it, what I would really like to do is like one of those English potager gardens, and I saw one at the such and such estate, and it was unbelievable, and that's how I picture my garden. Well, stop it. You've got to get food. You do one piece at a time. South Florida Gardener says, did someone throw mulch at you again, Dave? So, no, I love those beautiful, incredible permaculture gardens, but I'll tell you, you don't get one of those things overnight. So, yeah, Foo Bear says, it only took him 10 years to build a canopy of honey locusts in Lebanon so he could plant food plants. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let me show you something here. Today's rant is brought to you by I'm going to pick on somebody here, and I hope you don't mind, Ultra V. I am going to answer your question live. Ultra V writes, should I do the voice? No, I'm not going to do the voice. That would be too much. That would be picky. I'm not going to do the YouTube commenter voice. Ultra V has been around for a while. I'm not going to pick on Ultra V. The bentonite and Solomon's Gold are just more chemical farming. What is wrong with you, Ultra V?
Chemical farming. Yes. Yes, chemicals. We love them. No, we don't. We hate chemicals. Master would never give us chemicals. Yes, he would. He loves us. He loves the chemicals. No, Steve Solomon is organic. He's not organic. Copper sulfate isn't organic.
Okay, sorry, that's enough of that. The rest I can call organic. Thank you, Ultra V, for approving portion of my garden. Did you check where the oatmeal came from? Yes, it came from my pantry. Herbicides could be persistent in that too? Well, yeah. Yep. It's true. Bentonite is not a chemical, first of all, and somebody just noticed that here. Who was it that just noticed that? Everything is technically a chemical. That's right. Foo Bear says bentonite is not a chemical. No, bentonite is just a natural clay. But Solomon's Gold, yes, there are chemicals in it. Did you know that we are made of chemicals? We are all made of chemicals. Do 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 do. Nothing can stop our plows. Do do. We are all made of chemicals. You remember that song by Moby, the whale? The bentonite and Solomon's Gold are just more chemical farming. The rest I can call organic. Did you check where the oatmeal came from? Herbicides could be persistent in that too. Yes. This is true. There could be herbicides in the oatmeal, but putting it in the garden would be the least of my worries, since we like eat oatmeal all the time. There is perfect, and you are not going to reach it, and nobody is going to reach it. And I will tell you, my style of gardening is not true permaculture. I love Permies.com. I am a staff member at Permies.com. If you write something over there picking on my friend Paul or whatever, I can ban you. I don't really go over there a whole lot and ban people, but you know, I comment occasionally over there, and the permaculture thing, I love permaculture. And I think that science, chemicals, can play a part in it. But some permaculture people would be more idealistic. And they would say, no, you should never use any chemical fertilizer. So you should not go and get, say, sodium molybdate or potassium sulfate Magnesium sulfate, it's like almost okay. Maybe Epsom salts doesn't sound too scary, right? But there's like this idea of we're gonna do nothing but throw down compost, and or we're only gonna grow with manure and ashes and maybe seaweed and that sort of thing. But guess what? All that stuff has chemicals in it. And a lot of it has chemicals that are probably worse than the chemicals in your oatmeal. I got some cow manure from a farm for my organic garden, and the cow manure killed a long row of blackberries that I had just planted at $9 a plant. That was very painful. And it also killed a couple of pecan trees that I'd planted. It killed multiple of my garden beds, etc., because there was a contamination in that manure. If I had simply thrown down 10, 10, 10, chemical farmed, my plants would have lived. This is a problem. We have issues here. So you can go for absolute pure purity. You can out spiral everybody. There's a Studio C skit from a few years ago where this guy and this gal are both, they run into each other like in a organic market, and they start bragging about which one eats better. And the woman's like, I have fish oil, but I don't believe in all this processed fish oil. I take it right into my veins. And she rolls her sleeve up, and she's got a fish like tied to her arm with it, like she's taking the essence of the fish right into her arm. And he's like, well, you know what I do when I feel like I'm short on an element? I just eat part of a mountain, So they're like, I only eat natural organic. I only eat free range natural organic. It goes on and on and on and on. But you can't find perfect. There is no perfect in this world. There is nobody that's perfect. There is no garden that's perfect. We just don't have perfect. Unfortunately, this is a fallen world. This is a world that is in rebellion, and therefore there are a lot of curses on it. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect here. So, you see all kinds of horrible things happen. You see people die where you say that person died before their time. But you know what? Nobody should die at all. That's a bad thing. It's sad. We see people deteriorate. We see car crashes. We see poisons. We see wicked people oppressing the poor. We see poor people, rioting and killing the rich. And there's like everything is like all the time. You can't find perfect. But what you can do is as Voltaire said, which is, Voltaire's philosophy is not mine, but on this one point, tend your own garden. Tend your own garden. If you go and you look for problems with other people or with other people's systems or gardens, you can find a ton. Many, many problems. You can find issues with any system. Steve Solomon talks about how he was growing everything as organic as possible. He said he was just a fired up, back to the land kind of guy. So he bought a piece of degraded land and did tons of composting and, the manure thing, the composting, and built the soil up as absolutely well as he could and ate almost all his own organic produce. But he had health problems. And when he went traveling, his health problems disappeared or got better while he was on an island. I think he was on Fiji. And he was like, why am I feeling better? And he started to think maybe it's the food. And so he thought, well, I wonder if all this produce that we're eating here, what it was grown like. And they said, oh no, it's all sprayed with chemicals and everything else. But the difference was that the minerals in the soil, even though that was conventionally grown, the minerals in the soil made that healthier for him, and his body was able to use what it had there. Before we go any further, I want to thank Carla Groth for being a new member. Welcome very, very much, and I am glad to have you here supporting this channel. It's much appreciated. And also, welcome to Rose, who is a new member as of the beginning of this chat. And thank you very much to Grime Knight, who sends a $10 super chat and says, when you think about it, your enemies are made out of chemicals too. It's true. Compost your enemies. So trying to get things perfect is very difficult. My YouTube channel says, shout out to my son Christian. Hey Christian, have a good week. Get gardening. The trying to get it perfect. Okay, all right. I'm gonna pick on somebody else, but I'm not gonna mention their name. I'm gonna say they. That's creepy. They wanted to put in a food forest at the same time, this individual, as I was building my food forest systems in Florida. My North Florida food forest I built first, and then the next year I started the South Florida food forest. That was almost 10 years ago. And this person was trying to get the right plan. The right plan, it's got to be right. Like, over here, we think that in the future we might want like a lawn for like hosting events. And we have this ministry thing that we're doing in this area we probably want to leave open. And this area over here, we're thinking we'll probably put chickens there at some point in the future. And so I want to get this done, and I don't want there to be too much canopy over here, and I don't want there to be too much canopy over here. So what happened was they got a bunch of plants over time and put them in pots in different places and tried to plan out where things were going to go and how it was going to work. And they ended up with very little happening. They got some pieces done and got them productive, and soil was good. There was really nothing holding this person back except trying to get things perfect before starting. Got to get things perfect. And they didn't get things perfect. And meanwhile, my food forest system is a decade old, and it's crazy productive. And their system is still very much struggling. Some things got in the ground and then they didn't do very well, but they didn't like overplant. They didn't do too many extra things there. It's a sad thing that you can get stuck on trying to get something perfect. And we want to have virtue without necessarily doing the work for it. It's very easy to go and criticize other people and criticize systems and achievements. Like if I wish somebody happy Columbus Day, people say, Columbus. He was a genocidal maniac who took slaves or whatever else. And it's like, okay, there's nothing perfect here. Columbus was also brave. Columbus also sailed to the New World. It seems like whatever system or whatever somebody's done, everybody has done bad things, and some people have done worse things than others. So I just get tired of like the constant, this isn't perfect and that's not great, and I would do this, and just grow food, mind your own garden, tend your own garden. Just calm down. I have enough sin for myself without pointing out everybody else's. I am not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And we run the risk of just continually destroying every system, trying to get to a perfect system, but there's no perfect system. You get to the end and there's nothing left. So I try not to pick on, I used to be much harder on big ag. Big Ag has done a lot of very destructive things, but Big Ag also provides the corn chips that I like to eat with cheese dip. I make a really good cheese dip, you know. I don't eat it that often because it makes you fat. Because Big Ag is evil. But no, oh, sorry. No, there's a lot that's wrong with big agriculture, but there's some really cool stuff that you can figure out from it if you go and study what farmers are doing. Why are they growing pecans, you know, in this particular region? Why are they growing peanuts in this region? Why are they growing apples in New York? Why are they growing this, that, and the other thing? You know, I have a relative who was a logger, a great uncle, and he took me to go see some of their logging out in Oregon, and how they would plant and replant and harvest the logs and cut areas, and I was fascinated with it. But I had grown up, you know, seeing stuff on TV about how loggers are evil. And it's like you hear chainsaws running, and that's like they're like the most evil people in the world, you know. Pete Canaris is perfect. Well, thank God for Pete Canaris. That's hilarious. Pete Canaris is perfect. The you know, the idea of like the chainsaws, like you watch Sesame Street or whatever. What was that? What was that ridiculous, stupid kids movie? Nim, The Secret of Nim, or something like that. You know, or Bambi, right? Dude, you can't hunt. You can't get yourself some venison because Bambi. He's like, yeah, but Bambi's eating my peaches. If there's nothing perfect in the world, I can eat Bambi. I will eat Bambi. You know, but you get this idea that things are not perfect, right? So let's talk about this system a little bit and why I find a problem. Why I find the problem with chemical fertilizers is really overblown. The problem there, you know. And I want to thank Scott. Scott sends a $5 super chat and says, "Passing along the garden goods." Oceanbound says, sends a $5 super chat with a dancing lemon person. Thank you very much. I like that. I've never sent one with the I've never sent a super chat with a dancing lemon person. I haven't even thought about that. So, all right. The chemical fertilizer thing. Now you saw the comparison between the biochar, the Steve Solomon's mix, the lasagna garden, and the 10-10-10. And then the control, where there was like nothing in the control bed because he had nothing. At least the 10-10-10 grew something. But in that video that I just posted today, you can see that 10-10-10 grew some ugly looking stuff. I suppose if I balanced and I added more micronutrients with the 10-10-10 or something, I could probably do it. But really the ground is so bad. We'll almost have to just throw, you know, have overhead irrigation. Use the ground as if the ground was just... you know, hydroponics, a place to hold the root, and then regularly irrigate with some sort of chemical solution or something, probably would grow crops. But the, you know, tilling in some 10-10-10 and planting the crops, they were not pretty. They attracted all kinds of pests. They had issues. So, you know, I'm not really a fan of the straight chemical thing. So then we look over at the other bed where we had put in some alfalfa meal. Well, that's pretty good. And alfalfa meal was okay. I mean, the germination was not particularly good in that bed, but the stuff that did grow grew nice, and it tasted good. Had a nice flavor to it. Very juicy, watery, big growth on it. Very, very excellent. So, Fern Gully, there it is. I think that was the one. Yeah, Fern Gully. So we could say, well, the alfalfa, that was an organic amendment, but it wasn't really, because that alfalfa was probably grown conventionally. There's no way that was grown organically. I mean, it's just regular alfalfa in a bale. So now you got to go and say, okay, well, I'm going to get if I want to feed the ground and keep it organic, I have to get alfalfa that's grown organically. So now you got to figure out how to source organic alfalfa. Well, that's going to get more expensive. And it's like that's we're getting into like rich people doing stuff. And okay, earthworm castings. We had those earthworm castings. Now those earthworm castings, at the beginning they grew some pretty decent stuff, but I think they pretty much have burned out of the soil at this point because the final harvest of it wasn't great. They were okay, but it wasn't particularly good. It was better than 10-10-10, you know. Yeah, the problem there is, what did those earthworms eat? Were those earthworms like fed a raw vegan diet? I mean, I hope so. Did they eat carrot peels, maybe grown in a conventional farm? Did they have did they get some cow manure from a dairy? Who knows? We don't know that those worm castings, we don't know if that poop was completely organic. There's always a chance of contamination. But, that's better, right? But, that bed cost me like $30 to fertilize. It was crazy. It's too much. The Steve Solomon's mix, that bed cost a few bucks. That was more expensive because there's kelp meal in it. But then again, kelp meal, well, shucks. Kelp meal might have some radioactivity in it from Fukushima if it's coming from the left coast. Kelp meal may have some like diesel fuel remnants or something in it if it's growing in the Atlantic. Who knows what it's picked up? It might have picked up some pesticides or something in the water. It might have microplastics in it. I don't know. I know that it has all those minerals of the ocean, but what else? What else could it have in it? It's not perfect. And we know that here we've got the really precise, I'll use like 20 pounds of worm castings. The stuff that's not organic, right? Potassium sulfate, sodium molybdate. The boron that's in there is actually a mined boron, so that could be considered organic, I guess. The lime, I think you could probably consider organic. I think that was mined, had dolomitic limestone. Gypsum, probably, that's fine. But there's mined materials and then there's chemically produced, extracted salts. But you know what? That copper sulfate is probably pure copper sulfate. It's not like copper sulfate with a little bit of herbicide residue like would probably be in the alfalfa or the worm castings. It probably doesn't have, anything but copper sulfate in it. It's pure as the driven snow. So when you put it in there and you say, well, that's not organic, I guess it's not technically organic. It's not part of something living, but it will be. It's a trace amount of copper that we're putting in there to make sure the plants get their little bit of copper. But we're also mixing in cottonseed meal. Cottonseed meal that could be organic, an organic amendment, but then somebody will say, well, it's got GMO and maybe it has some residues of pesticides in it or something. You can't win. You can't win. It's impossible because nothing is perfect. So what I'm trying to do is grow nutrient-rich vegetables, nutrient-dense vegetables, and I will use chemical fertilizers. What I try not to do is use poisons. So say 7-Dust. 7-Dust is pretty mild stuff. When we got down to the wire and we were preparing for the pandemic and we had some aphid issues and stuff, I did bust out the 7-Dust. I did. Because it was like me or the bugs. And that's really, I hardly ever touched any of that stuff. But it was like, nothing is perfect right now. We haven't built the soil up very much. We need food this year because we don't know. And it was really a good thing that we had that garden too. I mean, I probably didn't put as much of my stress onto camera as I was feeling at that point, but we were foreigners in a country that locked down completely, shut the airports. The neighbors got pretty weird. They were openly talking about like sticking people up and stuff because they were afraid that the grocery stores were not going to open again. It was getting very weird. And I'm going, I gotta grow food. So before they locked everything down, I bought like extra chemical fertilizer and I bought Seven Dust and stuff because I was reading online that there was this crazy virus that might be coming. And so it's not ideal. But you have to weigh, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you building? What would you like? In my North Florida gardens, I didn't use any pesticides. I used 0 pesticides. I used Roundup once because when I first got my plant, well, once, I say once, but it was the application on the same thing I had to do a couple of times. But I bought Roundup, and I had never bought Roundup before, and I bought Roundup because when I got my nursery inspection, they found a invasive weed. It's a serious problem in Florida. It's called Kogan grass. It's a big problem throughout the South now. Imperata cylindrica. It is a nasty invasive. So I bought Roundup because the inspector told me, if you don't kill this stuff, you can't have your nursery license. And so I was like, I'm organic. I said, I'm going to dig it. And she goes, good luck. So I got out there with a fork and I started digging, and new pieces would pop up all the time. Turns out this stuff is a lot like bamboo. There's any little bit of it left in the ground, it's like pop, 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 pop. So after like 2 weeks and realizing I really need to get my nursery license, I sprayed it. I gave money to Mon Satan. And that was what I did. I had to actually spray it repeatedly because it kept popping up in different spots around my yard. And she told me, if this stuff is in your yard, you cannot have a license, which means you cannot sell plants. And I was all ready to go with my nursery. I had my plastic out. I had my plants in pots. And it's basically, what do I need? I need to sell plants. I need income. Things are not looking this hot right now. I'm broke. I need plants. And so I took an imperfect choice. Confessions of St. David the Good. But, somebody take this out of context, edit it. David the Good loves the evil colonists. David the Good loves Roundup. No, I'm saying there's nothing perfect. And I don't like all that stuff. But it's impossible to meet other people's standards, and you shouldn't go on these like purity spiral things where I'm going to tell you, listen, if you're not doing my grocery row gardens right now, you really your gardening is just really not, it's not up to par. It's not good gardening. It's bad gardening. It's easy to poke holes in systems, and you could poke holes in me all day long because I have so many mistakes. I have made so many mistakes. You've seen me with dead plants. You've seen like problems with aphids. You've seen me borrowing a tractor and tilling instead of using that beautiful meadow creature. Right, you could just pick it. And I've got respect for people that do the Back to Eden gardening. I got respect for people that want to do the double dug John Jeevons thing. I've got respect for the Charles Dowding and the deep mulch. There's so many different ways to do it. I did see Scott Head using Miracle Grow potting soil, so I no longer have respect for Scott Head. But other than that, and other than those aquaponics people, I really don't like aquaponics. I think it's a ridiculous boondoggle of a system. But other than that, I'm not going to judge you for growing your own food generally. But I do think that we can learn a lot from different systems. We can learn a lot from each other, and I can't say that anything I've done for sure is 100% original. I don't know. I don't know if maybe my fetid swamp water idea was like, that's really pretty original. But I don't think so, because I found out later the Koreans had been fermenting stuff in vats for a long period of time and using it to water. So, Scott. Scott has a portrait of Martin Luther on the wall. So he's actually better than I am. But take away the Green Thumb Award. The thing is, grow food. I think I need to stop and sing a song. I'm kidding. The thing is, grow food. I don't mean to be rude, but if you can't ever decide, you drive me to homicide. I just want to get no. That's too much. Sorry, that's judgmental. The most important thing is to grow food. And I'm trying here not to be rude. But if you're not eating just organic, raw, fair trade strawberries, you're a horrible kind of dude. I saw that Folgers can behind you. You know how much junk they spray. I only buy fair trade organic coffee. $50 a pound, but I can't afford to pay. What's your health worth? I don't mean to be rude, but really the important thing is that you grow your own food. Just don't do anything dumb like aquaponics. All right, let's take some gardening questions here. I used to be more dogmatic too. I used to think older folks, man, they don't believe in nothing. It's like they're just like, well, whatever. I don't really care if it's, Republican or Democrat. I don't really care if it's organic. I was like, what is wrong with you? All these things are super important. So, well, let's see what we got here. It's a dark winter for Scott. No, Scott. I have a bag of Miracle Grow potting soil out there right now. It's a judge instrumental. That's pretty good. LC Chubby 123 says, "Can you post your favorite websites to buy seeds and trees?" Yes. You know what? Why not? First of all, I'm going to say Johnny's Selected Seeds. They're my go-to for more interesting stuff. Particularly for the South, I like Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which incidentally also now carries my book Grow or Die, which is really cool. Additionally, Baker Creek Seeds for they win for the most beautiful catalogs and fascinating variety of stuff. I like Burnt Ridge Nursery for the cool stuff like mulberries and things, and some really weird stuff. They've got like there's really odd small fruits and things. They are out for those of you in the Pacific Northwest. It's pretty awesome. Seed Savers Exchange, yeah, that's a good one too. Let me think. Territorial Seed Company is a good one. And if you are going to go shopping at your local Home Depot, I like Burpees. Never had any trouble with their stuff. They also took the no GMO. I have not bought from Fedco. I have bought Ferry Morse. No problems there. Ferry Morse. But this is getting down my preference level. My favorite is really Johnny's. For the high germination rate, high quality. Fedco for bare root trees. Okay, that's good to know. Pine Tree Seed Company. There's a few small there's a few small seed companies too that are interesting. But I would love to see if there's anyone that opens up in Florida. Like a Florida seed company would be really cool. I like Grower Jim in Orlando for cuttings and bulbs from some cool stuff. Bentley Seeds, Totally Tomatoes. Oh, if you want tobacco seeds, I like Victory Seed Company. Haas Tools sells seeds now, which I would assume would be good because Haas does good stuff. WhoBen87 says, when do you recommend taking cutting for stone fruit propagation? I have not propagated stone fruit from cuttings, but probably after the sap rises. Right before they break out of dormancy, it sometimes works. Some things like figs do really well that way. I hope that's a good list there. Groshek says, hey, talk about growing artichokes. Have you grown them? No, not successfully. Somebody gave me some artichoke seeds. I planted them, and I don't seem to have anything coming up. I've never been in a climate for artichokes. South Florida Gardener says, Johnny's isn't selling to gardeners right now, only farmers. Yes, that's correct. That's why I bought from them at the end of last year. Spaceman, you are banned for being rude. Let's see here. What else we got? Yeah, I bought he bought the whole rack. Scott says, for Asian stuff, look at Kitazawa seeds. Okay, cool. I will put I'm going to look that up. I'll make a note to myself, put it in a new window. Our Shumway, yeah, I've seen that one. Where do farmers co-ops get their seeds from? Good question. It depends. I know they bulk buy. I had some luck. The White Lady turnips that I grew were from the local farmers. Natasha says, I have to walk by quickly or I get sucked in. I impulse buy seeds and canning lids. Yeah, I do too. Terrible. Rosehaven Farm says, Ohio heirloom. Cold climate. Andrew Craig says, how do you keep the serfs from eating most of the food on you? I understand they're hungry, but there's not much profit in that. No, you got to keep the serfs eating, and you have to raise pigs so you can give them the pork lard pies that they need. They mostly live on pork lard pies and ale bittered with wormwood because hops is too much. Would I like some West Indies pumpkin seeds? Yeah, sure. I grew some. They were very nice before when I was in the West Indies. If you're in Canada, check out Whiffle Tree Farms, Dolan says. Terza says, Missouri Department of Conservation has low-priced young trees in bundles of 10. They ship. Okay, cool. That's another good one. You can get some really interesting stuff sometimes from weird sources you wouldn't expect. Let me see what we have here. Yes, that's right. Numenor Bear says, moral of the stream, no growing system has been perfect since the actual Garden of Eden do it works, right? And I think the food forest system is pretty close to Garden of Eden system, so I love that. But that is a long-term thing, and I keep building them and moving. Dolan says, am I going back down to South America after this all settles down? I don't know. I would like to try a Spanish country. But there's no place like the United States. I would hate to leave again, really. I wouldn't mind visiting, though. Koi says, love your channel, so informative and hilarious. Thank you very much. And Last Moral Fiber says, hello from Ontario. Hello, Ontario. Hey, Matt. Nice to see you. Carolyn says, Mary's heirloom seeds. Scott says, I planted some Savoy cabbages in zone 8B and they bolted. Could it have been a nutrient issue or a temperature issue? Could have been either or both. Sometimes if they're strangling, they just, they're gonna go. That's it. If they don't grow happily with enough nutrition in the soil, you'll get bolting, or you get small bitter plants, and they often will go to seed faster. You want them to be really happy, but the weather here, I mean, it was in the 70s today, and it was like in the 40s just the other day, and it was 20s overnight recently. It's just crazy. It's all over the place. Green Christendom says, do you have some general recommendations in terms of groups of tree species for cuttings versus grafting versus air layering? Yeah, it's in my book, Free Plants for Everyone. I cover a lot of species on which ones work and which ones don't. I'll put a link. 1 second. This book has a ton of info in it. I basically distilled down a lot of my nursery knowledge and experiments from the past into a book on plant propagation. It's surprising how much stuff you can actually grow very well that you would not expect. And this is a link right here. Jeremy says, humor me with my Pink Brandywine song, even if reverse. My wife thinks I'm goofy for singing it all the time. I don't know the original song well enough to sing your parody of it. Unfortunately, I'm a little at a loss. But thank you. Finka says, I got a decent batch of daikon radish going from seeds I saved from last year. Can't wait to eat some. That's so much fun. Anna says, I grew artichokes in Orlando, did great until March, and then died. Yeah, that's a problem. Because you need a colder climate, but you have to have a longer cool season. There's all kinds of weird stuff that goes in it, and they need very fertile soil. Let's see. Let's see. I'm looking here. I'm trying to. Scott White says there's a new Asian seed supplier in Florida called Asian Two Table. Neat varieties. Okay, cool. That's a neat one. There's some very cool Asian vegetables. Rich Alexander says, I love Burnt Ridge too, but do you have an opinion on Rain Tree Nursery? No, I have not bought from them before. I definitely don't like Willis Orchards. I'm not a fan of Gurney's and Tai, Georgia. Hard pass. Jenica says she's impressed with the experimental garden. Can you give me your favorite crop to grow? Yeah, it's kind of a toss-up between pumpkins, like long-term storage pumpkins, and yams, like true yams, the climbing trees yams. Those two are really some of my favorites. They're fun. I like things that grow crazy and out of control and have to be contained with a machete. Other than those two, which are more in annual gardens, I love tree crops. I love growing trees. Green Christendom says, thanks, got your super crazy easy, totally crazy easy Florida gardening the other day. Very good, very funny. Well, thank you very much. If you are in Florida, that is a must-have, I think, which is the reason I think it's the best-selling Florida gardening book at this point, if you look at all the reviews on it compared to thing. Scott says, is Dying to Grow a Solomon recommendation? Yes. He introduced me to them. Tomatoes never tasted so good, so good, so good. Let's see. Yeah, my YouTube channel says there's so much to learn about each vegetable, fruit, flower, etc. It gets overwhelming and lots of failure. Too bad you can't just plant stuff and throw 10-10-10 on it. I know. You could do that if your climate and your soil is really good. Like, I've had people tell me, David, tomatoes are the easiest thing to grow. We literally grew baskets of them. I don't know what your problem is. You're doing it wrong. Like, it's a climate thing. And the bugs and the mold, you know, you just can't do it. In some climates, I mean, it's not, you know, you've got different problems in every climate, you know, in every system. Crazy Family Homestead said, which turnip did you plant? The one you all taste tested? It is a variety called White Lady, and I highly recommend it because I ended up getting a purple top turnip growing by itself, and I ate that one, and it was bitter and blah and turnipy. I could not believe it. It was in one of the beds where the white ones were growing, and it was just not good. Just tasted just like a lousy turnip. And so, you know, not only did we see that they tasted better, the White Lady turnips tasted better in some beds than others, we also saw that compared to the purple top, it blew it away. You know, it was much better. Anita says, got a Romanesco broccoli head forming. Freeze might get it. Stick a 5-gallon bucket over it overnight. You may be able to keep it from freezing all the way. Do beans really need to be inoculated? It depends. If there have been no leguminous plants growing in your area for some time, they may not have the bacteria they need to fix much nitrogen, and in that case, yes. But if you've got wild nitrogen-fixing plants here and there, like clovers, often they share. They share it, so... Pink brandy wine, ba-da-ba. Nightshades never tasted so good. Something like that. Muhammad Ali wants to know, hey, a big fan of your fights, if leaving gladiolus corms in the ground in Zone 6 or colder climate works. I don't know, but I was surprised to see that canna lilies came back in Tennessee, Zone 6. I wouldn't be surprised if they lived. Tina says, I have 4 giant cheese pumpkins in my basement that I grew last year. What do I do with them? You can cut them into pieces, cut one of them up into pieces, and they're good roasted. They're good mashed with butter and salt. They're even good sliced thin and dipped in dip, like raw. Dip in blue cheese. Good stuff. You can make anything that you would use sweet potatoes for. They often will work in that. They're a little more watery, but I like them. I like them roasted in the oven as a side with butter and salt. And they keep a long time, but cut them up into slices. Some people put them in soups. I'm not a big fan of soup in general, but a real pumpkin pie is very nice. Keep going here. Fred says, I live in Florida and love your videos. Thank you very much. You're in my home state. Joshua says, any pest problems in the new garden? Oh, yeah, terrible. A lot of leaves have gotten chewed up. I found cabbage worms already. We've got some sort of a little itty-bitty jumping thing. It's not a flea beetle. It looks like a miniature cricket, and it chews like all the leaves like lace. I think we're going to have some serious pest problems come spring, but I'm going to try and improve the soil as much as possible and just garden through it. Have a good night, Paulini. Nice to see you. Oh, that's cool, Mohammed. And 300 bulbs. I've got 60 I need to plant. But that's very cool. Natasha says, not a vegetable question, but is it too late to throw some turnips in the ground? In your climate, I would say it's probably too early. Or tulips. I'm sorry, I read that turnips. No, I would stick them in the ground. Why not? They're probably in the store right now. Hello, will it grow? Good evening. Riverdale Garden says, clover grows like crazy here. No wonder I've had great success with beans and peas. Yep, that's it. Sarah says to Rich that she went to Raintree last year. Got a few things Burt Rinch was out of. Plants are good. Cool. And they have a beautiful apple fence, which is worth going to see. I know up in North Florida, there's just fruits and exotics, which is really cool. Echo Farms also, if you're like traveling, Echo Farms down in Fort Myers is really good. Scrubland Farms, he's got a bunch of food forest stuff, and he's in the Ocala area, hitting the farmers markets there, and he can hook you up with a lot of stuff too. I never had a rap battle with John Kohler. He didn't take me up on it. I don't know. Let's see here. Let's see. What else we got here? Christopher says, cut them up and freeze them, cook and puree some pumpkin and put them in your beans. That's a good idea. Alexa says, I just read your Grow or Die book. I love it because you hate all the same vegetables that I do. Down with the Z word. I'm sorry, there are children that are on this stream, so we try not to say the Z word. I mean, I know it's awkward, but sometimes we say things that we shouldn't say, and that's one of those. It's just become kind of a, we just don't use that word, okay? Yeah, don't say the Z word in here. That's right. Fire Dancer Bear sends a super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate the tip. Let's see. Tiptoe through the turnips with me. That's good. Natasha says, any thoughts on the locust predictions for this year? Oh, I don't know. Fires, plagues, locusts. I don't know. I just read through that section where the children of Israel are in Egypt and Moses goes to Pharaoh and one plague after the other, and Pharaoh is hard-hearted and he does not want to let the Hebrews go. What are we supposed to learn from all these plagues? Anna says, are you ready for livestock yet? Got 5 baby goats on the farm this week. Don't tempt me. I would love some goats just to tie out and like chew down some of the brush. That would be pretty cool. Fire Dancer Bear says, do I need to add Epsom salt to my biochar compost tea if my soil and tea is saturated with gray water? Not necessarily. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules about charging it. The idea is to just make sure that you get enough minerals in it. I would add some, but I would add a wide range of stuff. Pour urine in it, put chicken manure in it, put triple 13 in it. Whatever. You need it to soak up some stuff. Otherwise, when you throw it into the ground, it will become a terrible mess. It will suck the nutrients out of your ground. So the idea is you load it ahead of time. It's all right, Alexa. You didn't know. You didn't know how offensive it was to say that word. Steve says Mr. Prigioni hasn't put up a video in a while. I don't know. I could call him. I got his number. Hey, James. This is a bad time of year for him though. When I talked to him last year, he told me the winter is just tough. He's probably working on something else. Catching up on his life. But it's cold. Muhammad says, another question. I'm currently sitting on a mountain of wood chips, approximately 200 plus yards. What can I do to make them break down into compost? The biggest thing you can do is add nitrogen. If you can get a load of chicken manure, that will help. Chicken manure is pretty awesome for that, and it gives it a little nice organic matter. And you mix it up and wet the whole thing, like soak it. Mix it with chicken manure, that will rot down. If you can't get chicken manure, you can always throw like pure urea fertilizer. It's like 6300. That stuff will help it break down too. You need that nitrogen for the everything to get going on the carbon. It will break down. It will break down eventually over time. It'll make a real slow compost. I used to use it to stretch my potting soil. Quebec Homestead said, "This is my first time here." Well, welcome. Crazy Family Homestead said, "No joke. I just spent the last 3 minutes looking for the Z word." I don't mind some frogs, but the frogs in the plagues on Egypt, there were so many. They were getting into the beds, the mixing bowls. They were everywhere, and then when they died, they stunk. Delilah says, "Natural pesticide, homemade. Check out Jadam Natural Farming book." Yes, I have read that. It looked like a lot of work, though. Let's see. Yeah, Prigione's under 10 feet of snow. Forget the wood chips. Yeah, it's true. James isn't cold. It's cold where he is. It's a ton of bad weather. You can't what's he gonna do? I don't know. Sit indoors and talk to you guys like I'm doing. Yeah, okay. Trudy says, as far as James doing videos, we can't do much. We have almost 3 feet of snow in New Jersey right now. I'm glad to be in Alabama. Wow. Well, I just really, this whole stream right here was just triggered by, again, one of my favorite topics. What's the difference between chemical and organic, and how does it work out? I don't think you can do your garden perfectly, and I don't think you'll ever live up to other people's standards. Do your best. Grow food first. I mean, my goal is to grow food. Oh, how sweet to walk in this pilgrim way, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how bright the path grows from day to day, leaning on the everlasting arms, leaning, safe and secure from all alarms, leaning on the everlasting arms. What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms, I have blessed peace with my Lord so near, leaning on the everlasting arms, leaning, safe and secure from all alarms, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh yeah, I love that song. I didn't do it justice, really. I know that was a little rough. I should practice before I sing to you guys live. Well, what are you going to do? Alan says, my purpose is to grow food. Unintentional, but perfect ending. So, Tina, thank you very much for the super chat. She says, love the live streams with the famous. I want to thank all of my members for joining this channel. It's much appreciated. And I thank all of you guys that showed up. We had over 200 concurrent viewers before I started singing hymns. It's probably my singing. But I'm very grateful for those of you who are members and support this channel from month to month. And like the regular income thing is cool. And thank you for all of you who sent super chats. Thank you for the questions, the good questions. And thank you to Ultra V here, who left the comment that triggered me. Thank you, Ultra V. I hope you don't mind me answering in this stream. And it's good to question, is this toxic? Is this toxic? Is this toxic? And in your garden, you may say, hey, I don't want to add this thing or that thing, the other thing. And that's fine. Just grow food. Grow food. Tend your own garden. So have a great night. Computer from column on the best organic. All right, 30,000 years. Let me see if I can find it. I think I might have it on this computer. I have to look. My problem is sometimes I'm not on the computer where it is located, and I have to have all the lyrics because I didn't memorize it. Where is it? Where are you? Come on. No! Son of a gun, do I not have the... I don't have it. I wonder if, I'm gonna find something here. I'm looking. I'm looking. Sorry. I know it's like this is really boring because he's not doing anything but looking for stuff because somebody wants him to sing a song, and I don't want to be on this thing anymore. This is really lame, so I'm gonna leave. It's boring. I'm trying to find some chords. My goodness, I cannot find my chords. I should like clean up my desktop and organize my computer once in a blue moon. I don't know. I cannot find it. I'm sorry. It's kind of ridiculous. It's funny, I'm looking for a document. Let me see. Oh, I might have one in here. No. Sorry. That was just lame. So instead, I'm going to have to see if I can get demonetized. Let's see. I'll look up. I know what I'll do. I always like to sing this one. And I know that I know it's going to get me demonetized. But I do it anyways, and I don't know why. I just keep getting demonetized. But I just can't stop. I'm trying to find it 1 second. I'm gonna find it. I gotta find it. Just a second. This is not the version. I can't find anything, guys. Why am I even live when I can't find anything? This is so stressful. You know what? I do better making up a song. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make up a song. Chat up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat. I know this. This is a song. You know I always think of you differently from everyone else I know. It doesn't mean that's really good, that I should say you're different. You're different. I think of you in the rain and the snow, or I think of you. I think of you every time I go, and you know what I mean. You know thinking about you when I'm out in my yard. I'm thinking of you. And I'm thinking about you when I'm out driving in my car. I think of you. I'm thinking of you when I'm peeling turnips. I'm thinking of you when I'm baking biscuits. There ain't nobody like you. Ooh, ooh. There ain't nobody like you. Oh yeah, I'm thinking about you and I'm judging the way that you're gardening. Oh yeah, I'm thinking about you and I'm out hunting Bambi. I'm thinking of you and I'm putting micronutrients into my biochar, baby. Cause there ain't nobody like you. Nobody like you. Nobody like you. Yes. No, I don't know if that song's on YouTube or I just make stuff up, you know. That's a song I've been playing for a long time. I throw in different lyrics every time. Sawyer says G string is flat. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Very slightly. Good ear. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for the super chats and everything. Have a good night. Sorry, I've got to find all my lyrics and things. I have not been doing many of the live things. I actually have a writing contest I have to go judge now because my children are waiting on me patiently. We had a writing contest, and I gave them a topic, and they wrote stories this week. So that's one of those awesome homeschool things you get to do. So I am excited about my kids' incredible potential, but I must go foster that now. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks to everyone here. God bless. Catch you next time. And until then, may your thumbs always be green.